Alright, we're going to be going over the M2, or depending on what you have, the M122 tripod, and some of the components you'll need for this in order to run your M60 machine gun on it. Here I have this is an M2 tripod. This is a 1942 World War II issue one. Basically no difference between M2 and M122. Before we get into that, what I have sitting on here is this is a Bulldog 240 spare barrel bag. You can get these pretty cheap. I think I paid $35 for this. This is GI issue. I recommend picking one up whenever you're going to a shoot or the range. You can put a tripod in here, a pintle, spare barrels, and any other spare parts that you want to take with you. Opens up, it's very nice, heat resistant obviously, and when you're at the range you can unfold this and throw it down, and you can keep your barrel and different parts on it so they don't get dirty. The tripod itself, setting this up for to run a gun on it, this bottom leg folds straight out. It'll stay in place, just there's no lock or anything on it, it just folds out, it'll stay in place. The rear legs, we want to spread these apart, and once they're spread apart, you can see on the bottom here, you have to push this up and it'll lock in place. Let's see if we can get it. There's a tooth there that'll hold that there. What this bar is this is your traverse and elevation bar. I never run it with a T&E. If you have a T&E, it mounts right on here, and it's really good for precision fire at long distances. Because this won't sit on my table, just for the purposes of this video, I'm going to close this up. Alright, so the pintle that you're going to want for your M60 machine gun is called a gooseneck pintle, which is this right here. These are pretty easy to get a hold of. Some people ask a tremendous amount of money, and some people, I think I got this one brand new for $28 a couple of years ago. So these are pretty much unmistakable. If you go online and Google M60 gooseneck pintle mount, you'll see some of these for sale for sure. So the way this goes in your M2 tripod, I recommend putting a little grease on there, obviously, so it rotates a little easier. This is called a small pintle. It sits right in there. You can rotate this 360 degrees if you need to. This latch here locks it in place. So right now it doesn't want to move at all. Just like most M60 mounts, you can see these two claws in the back, and what that does is your rear mounting pin sits in the back of this, and it just locks in place. So let's grab our gun. Again, on the bottom of this, make sure we got it in the camera. What we see is this rear mounting pin here. It's just a pin that goes through the bottom of the trunnion, and there's two roll pins. There's two roll pins on it, and that's what holds it in place. So when we're shooting this from these different mounts, it's not actually the gun itself that is taking the recoil, it's this pintle. So again, all we do is we hold our claw lock down, sit that pin in there, and it sits right in place. Now, this, let's see if I can move it in a little. This doesn't wear your gun at all. One of the posters said, you know, will this wear the finish out? The answer is no. This is actually, this and the M142 cradle mount is the best way to fire this weapon. And the reason being is it takes, you know, the recoil and everything is on this pin. It's from a supported position. One other thing that is important to know, move this back out. If you read, you know, the SAR reviews on this gun, what guys have been running into problems with is their trunnion becoming loose. If you're buying a gun, if you haven't bought it yet, it's important that you inspect this trunnion. There should be zero play in that barrel. One of the flaws with the gun is, though, this bipod is very heavy and the barrel is actually very long. So when you're shooting this, this is what causes your trunnion to get loose. Just tens of thousands of rounds with all this weight here, especially if you have the tripod down. If the tripod is down, it's actually the worst way to shoot it from that tripod, because people have a tendency to hold the back of the gun, and what they're doing is they're putting pressure down on the front naturally, and again, it's bad for your trunnion. So there's a very simple remedy to this. It's best to, if you have a barrel without a bipod on it, it's very easy to take these off. You can shoot it from a supported position, and it literally eliminates all of the weight that is on the front of this. This barrel here, this was designed and made by Rock Island Armory in the 1980s. It was featured on the 1984 issue of SWAT. And these are really nice barrels. They're light, fluted, very convenient. So, just a gooseneck pintle, an M2 tripod, and you're set. You don't need a T&E. They call this free gunning when you just have it in this gooseneck pintle mount. And that's not going to do anything. It's actually a lot more enjoyable to shoot that way. Aside from this gooseneck pintle, there is another type of mount. It's a platform mount, which is what I have here. And there's a bolt that goes through the bottom of this, and it has a small pintle on it, and that's what sits in the tripod. I personally don't like these for that because it's just a little less movement that you get out of it. The gooseneck pintle's easy, it's small, it's light, and it's a very easy setup to use when you're shooting from the M2 or M122 tripod. If you don't have a tripod for your gun, I recommend picking one up. They're all surplus, just like anything else. They're going up in price, just like everything else. It's a really nice option to have for this weapon system. Like I said, if you put your T&E on the back of this, you can get some very, very precise fire at long distances.